I'm Paul Stewart.
And I am Brian Wright.
And together with the Wright Stew podcast. So we haven't been able to put a daily stew out for a couple days. We haven't taken days off. We've been busy. We've had a couple of in-studio interviews that we've been working on, and we're editing now and putting them together. So really excited about that. We'll tell you a little more about that at the end of our daily stew today. But Brian, lots going on in the sports world. We got basketball in full swing, NBA, NCAA. We got football games on Saturday now from the NFL. Playoffs are starting to roll around. But
hey, Paulie, I got a question.
Yeah.
Hey, has basketball, like, for a number of years, basketball, like, during Christmas, after Christmas, NBA basketball, it kind of became real, almost like college basketball does in March. Do you start watching it more? Do you find yourself drawn to it more after Christmas, or not so much?
I think it's just on TV more. Or growing up, it was on TV when you had cable. Now not as much, because you legitimately have to go seek whatever app, Sling or YouTube TV or whatever, ESPN app, whatever it is. So if I'm watching an NBA game, I specifically go watch an NBA game. So I'll pop one on occasionally, but probably not the top of my list to go see things, right?
Not hitting your radar.
No. I mean, if it's a big game, I mean, I like watching, Luka and LeBron and some of those guys, but I'm not just going to turn on a random, Sacramento Kings versus Charlotte Hornets game.
Yeah. Hey, so I did see where LeBron topped Michael Jordan's like 30-point games, and it's like over so many games. Have you seen that?
Yeah. Michael did it in just under 1,100 games. LeBron about 1,500 games, and I know that's a big. That's a big discussion and debate and an argument for a lot of people, right? You and I both grew up in the heart of the Jordan era, and I think he was our guy. But I think we both appreciate who LeBron is as a player as well.
And I think it's a little bit as a person too. I remember Jordan saying, like, they were trying to compare him to like some of the greats, Wilt Chamberlain, and some of the greats when he was coming through and he's kind of establishing himself, and they were interviewing him, and it's like, hey, who's the greatest player of all time? And he's like, hey, generation to generation, you can't really compare. We grew up in different advantages, different disadvantages on the court. I just loved how Jordan always answered those questions. And I think LeBron, probably a different generation, more of a look at me, look how good I'm doing generation. So he's like, yeah, I am the GOAT. And so he embraces that a bit more. And I don't like that. I like that, whether it's fake or real humility from Jordan, I really appreciate that kind of his, like, hey, you're calling me the GOAT, I'm not calling me the GOAT kind of perspective. But obviously what LeBron has done is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, it even goes back, and it's really interesting because, growing up in North Carolina and Jordan being from North Carolina, they were trying to get him to endorse a political candidate back in the early mid 90s. And Jordan stayed away from it. He was like, do you remember what his line was?
Hey, Republicans wear shoes too.
Yeah. He said Democrats and Republicans both buy Nikes.
Yeah.
So he didn't want to offend it. So he was always very business.
Hey, he got a ton of pressure. Like, as much as you liked him for that, there's a lot of people on the other side that did not like him for that.
Yeah, but I think more people liked him for that. And I think that's part of the narrative too with the NBA now. You hear a lot of people who say, I don't watch it because of all the social commentary. Like, hey guys, go bounce a ball, go shoot a ball, go do that. And there's something to that. But again, when you reach that kind of platform, if you have a voice, if you have a message, and it's something you truly believe in, we have freedom of speech, right? Share that, and then it's on us, it's on the viewers or the listeners or whoever the audience is to decipher and discern. Like, okay, do I want to listen to an NBA player and what they have to say?
Yeah, and
where do they go to school? Are they educated on this stance, right? And some guys are promoting, great causes, right, and helping and philanthropy and the whole thing, and then other are, it's a little more divisive, it's a little more political, and whichever side of the road you stand on, it can be taken a couple of different ways for sure.
Yeah, no question. I think we talked about it. I think for a large majority of people who watch sports, that time is the checkout time from like real world kind of checkout time. And so when you have real world things thrown at you by people that in most cases aren't more educated, just have a lot more money and a lot bigger platform, you kind of get like, all right, dude, all right, relax. Hey, go run, go shoot. You're better than everybody at that. But as far as your voice of reason and how things should look politically. Yeah, I don't really care what you think in that standpoint. But anyway, still,
Yeah.
it doesn't
So
take away
so
from LeBron and yeah, and some of the things they've done. And I got another question for you, Paulie. How often are you cleaning your ears? Completely random. Just
I'm
clean once
a
a day for a minute in
we've
a
got a
while.
jar of we've got a jar of Q-tips in the bathroom. Every day, both ears. I'm a
Oh, so
once a
you
day.
are an everyday guy.
Yeah, every day.
Oh yeah, I'm not, and I think you're not supposed to be every day. Maybe somebody
No,
can
well, the
correct me on
doctors
that.
say, yeah, it essentially works as like a plunge. So when you push the Q-tip in, it pushes the earwax back towards the eardrum. So you're not supposed to do it, but it's part of my morning routine. I don't
Yeah,
like having that wet feeling in my ear, so I do it every day. What do you?
I
Every
would
other
like to
day, or
be. I feel like once every 3 or 4 days. It don't always happen. Sometimes it's like once like every 7, 8, 9 days. And when we get to that length, you really get the reward of seeing the Q-tip work, right?
yeah,
And so I kind of like the reward, right? It's almost like the
just getting
old
a lot of
marshmallow.
yellow
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You
built
get
up.
the reward. It's pretty incredible. You don't always like when you do it every other day or every 2 days. You don't really get that good a reward. If you wait 7, 8, 9 days, you clean it out. You're like, oh, I got something. It's doing something. It's not just pushing it down in there. So
Maybe I'll go. What's the Saturday? Maybe I'll go till next Saturday before
go
I.
to next Saturday. Then when you do it, it's almost like you get the dopamine release, almost like doing a workout. I think.
Yeah.
Just clean
Okay.
it.
I'll commit. That'll be a resolution for the week. I'll commit to not cleaning my ears. So I have done the earwax candles. Have you ever seen these?
Oh, I've seen them. It felt like something that they may have done in medieval times that is trying to be passed off as modern.
I don't. It felt very kind of hippie, gimmicky, sort of. But I remember very specifically. I was in Scranton, Pennsylvania, in AAA 2003. My wife was on the road trip with us, so we were in the hotel room. We bought them at the GNC,
Okay.
and so you put they're hollowed out candles. You put them through a paper plate to protect you from, and you lay on your side, and then you just burn them. In theory, the heat is supposed to suck the wax up away from the eardrum and into the candle, so you could see like a little stream of what I thought was earwax. It may have been something just was planted in there. I'm not sure, but um,
Did you feel like you could hear better? Did you feel like you were better, maybe inner
I
ear?
don't. I don't think so. I probably told myself that I did one of those sort of things. It
Yeah.
felt a little warm in the ear during the process, but I don't know. Maybe I'll do it again. Maybe that'll be Saturday. We'll just
Hey,
go
you
all out.
mentioned you mentioned
Ear day.
that. It's funny, like a placebo effect, right?
Yeah.
Like 20%. So 1 out of 5. Like whenever they're doing like medical grade testing and drug testing, it's got to be greater than that because like 1 out of 5, it just shows how powerful the mind is, as far as like if you believe something to be true, whether like, hey, I am working hard, or hey, I am doing everything that I can to get better, there's a huge placebo effect. And the same thing with like drugs. And hey, if you think it helps you, hey, you probably should do it because it's going to help you. So,
Yeah. Well, that goes a lot into in baseball, and I think sports in general has changed the thought process. I think initially it was, hey, that's superstition. That's what and then it's no, it's not superstition. It's routine. It's part of your game day routine, and so it's changing the name. And like famously, Wade Boggs would eat chicken every day, and
we must be on the
guys like
same wavelength. I was thinking the exact same
yeah,
thing.
like Turk Wendell would like jump over the foul line and brush his teeth, but I don't know how some of those things start for people. I was never a big I wasn't a big superstition guy, but I was a big routine guy
Hey,
because
I saw where yesterday, and it's funny, hit my algorithm, where Chipper Jones are being interviewed, like, and he's like an A ball, and his first wife, he met her in A ball. He's hitting 240. He ended up, he said a month later, he's hitting 310. Eventually did marry her. Obviously took him all the way to the big leagues, and then things happened that happened. But you talk about superstitions. Hey, it can happen with girls. It can happen with meals. It can happen with whatever the case. And again, it's part of what you kind of believe. And what's so hard about baseball? Such a fine line between success and failure that it's hard to put into like, hey, if that ball just bounces 2 inches to the right, that's a hit. If I get
Yeah.
one of those a week, I go from hitting 250 to 275. That's, big leagues, or, whatever. And so it becomes kind of a mind warping deal because it's such a fine
Yeah.
line.
Well, and I'm 100% convinced that every football, baseball, basketball, if you give a team or an individual, you say you've got, and you can never do this, but in theory, if you give them 1 foot, 1 foot that you could change, move a ball from fair to foul, move a ball in the strike zone, that changes your season, changes your trajectory, dramatically, right?
I
Because
don't
if you
even think
think
you need
about,
a football. I think if you could go like 6 inches, and I
yeah,
mean, yeah, I agree 100%. Though. I mean, it's very, and that 1 foot you talk about, you hitting, difference between getting it off the end of the bat or getting into the sweet spot, and
yeah,
or for you, hey, making your pitch or not quite making your pitch out of the zone, or our kids, bang bang plays at first base. All those things. It's just such a fine line that it's easy to become superstitious because it's like, man, I was successful yesterday. I had chicken. I'm hanging out with this girl. I was 2 for 3. I've been hanging out, so it's just weird how that stuff kind of all starts tying together. And it's like,
well, I
it
remember
does.
I
It
had
does.
my last year in pro ball. I was one of my first couple starts of the year. We were on the road in Erie, Pennsylvania, and we were playing the Seawolves there. And I had a really good start with like 7 innings, couple runs, something like that. And but during that day, I watched. Do you remember the show Pimp My Ride?
Yes.
I watched like
I
a
think there's a
Pimp My
bunch of
Ride
lawsuits
marathon.
now. Yeah. Oh,
And so
100%.
like I was like, "Oh, I just got to watch Pimp My Ride all day, and that's what I'll be good." And then I remember too back in 2002, like my wife was with me at home for all the games, and like she would drive me to the games, and we would always listen to like the Britney Spears CD that was like I'm a slave for you. Do you remember that one?
I do. I'm
But
embarrassed.
we
I mean,
had
I
like
know your music taste is wide, but
I'm calling them all over. She's
yeah,
more of the Britney Spears, but I dug it. She's good. So,
all those
but
things.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that'll be something fun. And I think Brian and I have talked about actually doing a full length kind of talk about superstitions and routines and what historically that's looked like. So look out for that. But also speaking of which, look out for a podcast we'll be releasing this Wednesday actually. So in studio yesterday we had Nolan McLean, so current New York Mets prospect, dual prospect, hitting and pitching, kind of the Shohei Ohtani. So look out for that on Wednesday. Garner High School graduate, and as well went to Oklahoma State to play football and baseball. So a lot of really great insight from him. Brian, was there anything you really took away from yesterday that you want to share with the audience before we get into the full length of his interview?
You see why he was taken in the third round twice, ultimately with the Mets. You see a mature kid that knows what his goals are. Didn't always have it easy, right? As far as like, there's always challenges to overcome in sport. Obviously, the big thing was, he's not going to be hitting going forward. He's just going to be pitching. But really mature kid. I'm convinced. I told Paul as soon as we got done, I'm convinced he'll make it to the big leagues, whether it's this year or next year, as long as he stays healthy. Because you just see a maturity at 23 years old. I wasn't able to communicate, speak for myself. There's just a lot of positive takeaways from, and I've never even seen him play. Paul, you've seen him play, but
Yeah.
I mean, just the videos we saw speak for themselves. But just the maturity as a kid is pretty special to be 23 years old.
Yeah, so we're really excited to bring that to you. We're getting it edited up. So that'll be ready Wednesday, January 8th. So be on the lookout for that. So for all you New York Mets fans, Oklahoma State Cowboy fans, and Garner Trojan, and just general baseball fans, football fans,
Sports fan.
really good interview. So we're excited to bring that to you. So be on the lookout for that. But that's all we got for you today. Have a great sports day.
Out, go back.